All right, family. So I got a request. Well, several requests to talk about this ADOS versus FBA feud. All right. And, this is very interesting um, that, first of all, I think these two groups are great to be just me being objective, and I will be objective about this. You know what I'm saying? I have no dog in this race. I'm not picking sides. I'm just giving you my perspective from my observation. That's it. So, but anyway, with ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, as well as Foundational Black Americans, which is started by Tariq Nasheed. Of course, his ideology is that he wants a leaderless front, meaning that the code should be the leader, right? Which makes a whole lot of sense because he's a student of Neely Fuller Jr. and the compensatory logic as well as I am. That is the code that I follow, but the majority of black folks never heard of Neely Fuller Jr. Don't know what the hell a compensatory logic is. So they fall by the wayside. And when you talk about black people being on code, and I've said before in past videos, anybody knows me who follows my channel for any significant amount of time, I always say that black people don't follow a code. The only code that black people follow is the Coon Code, and that is a proven fact. But like I said, I believe that ADOS, ADOS, whatever you want to call it, and FBA, I believe both groups, both organizations, can coexist. I think they're both needed. You know, um, ADOS or ADOS, right? You know, is a political front that is also based off lineage, right? That is that is my interpretation. I watched the videos from Yvette Carnell as well as Tariq Nasheed. I got a chance to watch both videos, you know, and as far as my video is concerned, I'm not gonna make this a long drawn out video. I say my piece and keep it moving. I don't have the patience to sit here and be on making videos for hours. I don't do that. Most of my videos, 95% of my videos are 20 minutes and under. You know what I'm saying? But since I do things raw and uncut, we'll see how this goes. But at the same time, like I said, I got a chance to watch both videos while I was working out yesterday. And they were both very, very interesting, insightful. But I also want to say that, and I'll get to it a little bit deeper later in this video, that I think the biggest issue from both sides, from Tariq's side, Tariq Nasheed, as well as Yvette Carnell and Tone Talks, I think the biggest issue plaguing both organizations is ego. Ego is the biggest downfall. Matter of fact, ego is the biggest downfall. One of the biggest downfalls in Black society. Whenever there's a powerful organization, a powerful group um, that's started by someone or whatever the case may be, ego always gets in the way of someone's downfall. It always does, and that's what I think is happening. But just to get further clarification about the groups, like I mentioned, ADOS is a political front, right? Yvette Carnell and Tone Turks were making, um, basically architecting this whole ideology of American descendants of slavery for at least 4 to 5 years. They were constructed a framework of how they wanted to, you know, um, have this presented into the mainstream media as well as uh, black social media and present it out where it can be easily digestible and understandable to black society, where we are we are descendants of slaves. We have the lineage. We are aboriginals to this land, right? United States of America. And because our ancestors built this country, we deserve compensation for the atrocities, the labor, the mistreatment, etc., from our ancestors, like other groups who receive reparations, like the Japanese community, right? The Native American community, the Jewish community, right? Just like that, right? So it's based off lineage, but it's also a political front because they have a 501c4, right? With American descendants of slavery. Now, from the FBA, right? FBA, which, yeah, like I said, Tariq likes to say he doesn't like to be a leader, but his name is behind foundational Black Americans. Just like, he mentioned, and I knew about this from Dr. Claude Anderson, just like he mentions Black Americans as Native Black Americans, right? So he's trying to, he created a differentiator for Black society, which is foundational Black Americans, which is non-political, but it's based off lineage and culture. Identifying, it's kind of like the dominant white society creating identitarians, right? Or alt-right. So FBA is really the Black version of identitarians. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it is. And again, I think FBA, the ideology of that is great. I think ADOS is great. And I'm always critical on both parts. I give you my honest opinion about things. I made videos in the past about ADOS, allegedly trying to accept money from a known white supremacist, as in John Schneider, former CEO of Papa John's, and they were also in trying to get, well, they actually already had their ADOS conference at this so-called HBCU, which is basically a Bible seminary school. So I'm still side-eyeing that, right? But I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to galvanize and trying to mobilize the efforts of communicating and engaging the HBCU crowd with the ADOS movement. I understand what they were trying to do, right? Which is fine. But just the way of doing that, I side-eyed that. Okay? As far as Tariq and the FBA and all that stuff, like I said, I saw the video he did. We're doing the FBA versus ADOS and him breaking that down and stuff like that. I saw that, and the thing I got out of that is, he was taking shots at Tone Talks. He mentioned Tone Talks doesn't have charisma, and stuff like that. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I don't even know what that means. You don't have charisma. Of course, Tariq has charisma, which is great. He's able to, he's a man of many things. He can do an R&B album, right? He can go on tour, do lectures. He can, do concerts. So he has that. He has the ability, because of his charisma, to galvanize a lot of people at venues and stuff like that, which is great. But at the same time, there's other people, right, in past history who were also charismatic. You had cult leaders like Jim Jones, who was charismatic. David Koresh, who was charismatic, right? You have these so-called black church leaders like Creflo Dollar. They're charismatic as well. And you see how these mega church pastors who are charismatic, they denigrate and siphon black society. That's all they do. Take money, ask for tithes and donations, and the community around them never changes. Nothing happens. Black churches have siphoned over, I forgot the exact number, what it was, over 200 something billion dollars since the 1980s. From tithes and donations, and charismatic pastors. That's all they do. They just siphon and are human leeches of black society and our culture. That's what they do. So, being charismatic, really doesn't mean anything unless you are doing something constructive, right? You're doing something constructive, and you're doing something that is empowering your community, right? And Tariq has been doing that to a certain extent. He has been doing that, with the Hidden Colors series. I've been a big supporter of that. I've reached out to him before, and I've done screenings of Hidden Colors and lectures and things of that nature. So that is powerful. But mentioning someone not being charismatic really doesn't mean anything unless you are really doing something constructive and empowering your community on a consistent basis. So that's my thing about that. Now, when he was talking about, he mentioned how the hashtag of ADOS, how he made that pop off. And when he said that, I immediately thought ego. I mean, why would you mention that? You made it popular, and you probably did make it popular. But so what? What's the point? Like, why would you even have to mention that? I just didn't really think that was. I made it popular. I made it poppin'. Like, why even mention that? It's really irrelevant. To really irrelevant. And Tone Talks and Yvette Carnell was talking about, no, Tariq did not make it popular. It was already popping and stuff like that. And that's when I was like, okay, this is really about ego. It really is. It's really about ego. This nothing to do with empowering Black society, making sure we understand our lineage, making sure that we definitely deserve reparations based off our lineage, and identifying who we are, right, in Black society. We're gonna put that to the wayside, but our ego will get in the way because of who made the hashtag of ADOS popular. Who is bothered by Tariq Nasheed starting another organization that's sort of similar to ADOS, which is FBA, right? This really is about ego. This is really a distraction because ego is getting in the way of all of this. This is how I see it. Ego is definitely getting in the way of all of this. Yvette Carnell, very intelligent woman. Tone Talks, very intelligent brother. Getting sidetracked by Tariq Nasheed and FBA and all that stuff. And looking at this from afar, when I saw the fact that this all started from a tweet that Tariq Nasheed had replied to about, he kind of basically co-signed what Clockwork Orange said about opportunity zones and how opportunity zones helps impoverished areas populated by Black people, populated by people classified as Black or African American, which is urban communities. Opportunity zones basically is gentrification. That's all it is making sure you pretty up poor communities, right? You aesthetically build up these poor communities, gentrify them, push all the poor people out, make greater, build up the community, and that's basically what you're doing. It's gentrification. You're pushing out the poor people, building up new buildings, revitalizing old buildings, and that's it. This doesn't do anything about education. This doesn't do anything about rehabilitation, right? Making sure that you actually understand and educate Black families or children, for that matter, about the importance of the Black family and the Black family structure. We're not doing that. It's just basically gentrifying communities, and I was kind of surprised that Tariq Nasheed co-signed that, right? And that's where it all started from, and then everything went awry from there, right? But my thing about this is that, like I said, I think both groups, FBA, Foundational Black Americans, and ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves, I believe both of them can coexist, right? I believe they're both of them can coexist, especially when the fact that they're both based off lineage, but one is a non-political group, one is a political group. We need our own political group, and I've always said that ADOS needs to start their own political party, and so establishing a 501c4, perhaps you can do that, right? I've always said that we need our own political party that's separate from Democrats, that's separate from independents, that's separate from Republicans. We need our own political party for our lineage, for Black society. And I think ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, can do that, right? And it's also good to have, like I said, for FBA, it's also good to have a group that's based off, like I said, identitarian, identifying who we are as Black society, lineage and culture, right? That's what FBA is all about, right? Black identitarians. I think it's always good for I think it's always good for that, you know, and I think both can coexist if you put ego to the side. Once you put ego to the side and understand it's all about making sure we empower our people, understanding our lineage, understanding that we are owed trillions upon trillions of dollars of reparation payments, understanding the plan of how we can get that done, and making sure that the so-called candidates running for president of the United States can back that 100% based off the ideology, right? And with the right information and all that, I think that can be done. But again, ego has to be put to the side. You know, ego has to be put to the side. You know, Yvette Carnell, her video, she made a lot of great points about Tariq as well. The fact that, you know, he started his own group. It was kind of using FBA and ADOS interchangeably. And then she said, well, you know, she said, and I'm paraphrasing, she basically said, why did Tariq start a separate organization outside of ADOS if they're one and the same, right? And that kind of makes sense, you know. Tariq, a lot of the Tariq detractors would say, well, you know, this is just another hustle for Tariq. He's going to do whatever he can to monetize this, make merchandise, do conferences, do lectures and stuff like that, and monetize this and all that. So, yeah, at the end of the day, you know, Tariq has his hands on a lot of different things, and he monetizes everything he does. He monetizes that, right? That's what he's done. That's what he does. You follow him for a long time, like I have, almost 10 damn years. You see the pattern that he does. But the thing about what Tariq does is that, sure, he monetizes from the things that he does, but it's also beneficial to the people who are involved as well, because you get a chance to monetize with him. I'm a testament to that. Doing these lectures and doing lectures and doing screenings, I was able to monetize from that, right? So he allows you to make money with him if you are with his organization or with whatever he's trying to do, you know, from his ideologies. And with ADOS, what Yvette Carnell and Tone Talks are doing, you know, they have an opportunity, and they already have, you know, they have the opportunity to make sure that ADOS, the movement that they're doing, is in the forefront of all these political candidates that are running for so-called president, right? So, yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, I didn't want to do a long, drawn-out video. Just wanted to give you guys my thoughts about this ADOS versus FBA feud. I really think it'll just blow over, and they'll continue to do what they do on the ADOS side, Tariq Nasheed will continue to do what on his side with FBA. He's going to do a conference. He's going to talk about many different things that are non-political that are going to identify Black society and our lineage, which is I think is a great thing to do. He's going to talk about health, finances. He's going to talk about science. All those things are going to be talked about in FBA, which is great. In ADOS, political front, that also talks about lineage, will continue to galvanize reparations and making sure that is the main topic that is talked about among these so-called political candidates running for president of the United States. So again, both can coexist, but they have to put their egos to the side. That's how I see it. So those are my thoughts about that, family. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think about this feud of ADOS and FBA. Till next time, make sure you follow me on Instagram at GMOGMediaTV. Till next time, signing out.